This is the Youth Education Cultural Affairs Committee of CB2. It's called to order and being recorded in accordance with the Open Meetings Law. And it's a practice to conduct remote meetings with all community members' cameras on and public attendees to leave the camera on, especially when speaking. I'll let you know which topics are open for comment by community members, board members, and public. If you have questions that fall outside of the comment time, please put in the chat and we will try to address it. We're committed to providing access. So if someone has access questions and concerns, please contact the district office 72 hours prior to the meeting to arrange whatever special access. And please use plain language and speak at a moderate pace. Okay, so let's see. I would like to begin with a roll call of our members. I'm Betty Feibush. I'm the chair of this committee. And just looking at my screen, oh, I see Nick. So we do have a quorum. Hi, Nick. Okay, so just going by my screen, if each member can introduce themselves. I see Ellis. Can you introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ellis Scope. I'm a member of the committee. Welcome.
Santia?
Hi, I'm Santia Policia. I'm a committee member and board member.
Great. Leroy?
Hi, I'm Leroy Lee. I'm a committee member.
Great. Welcome. Nick?
Good evening, everybody. Nick Ferreira, committee and board member.
Hi, and I see Rachel.
Hi, sorry for being late. Yes, Rachel, board member, CB2.
Great. Rachel, I hate to ask you this, but did you get my email? Are you able to take minutes? As you know, we don't have a secretary, so each month I ask different people.
I should take minutes.
Yeah, if you can, and Taya will send you a template. It doesn't have to be in great depth. It's like what time the meeting started, the attendance, who spoke. And then there's a recording. So if you need to refer to it, you can. I appreciate it. And of course, anybody on the committee who would love to be secretary permanently, we'd love to have you. But at this point, different people are taking turns. Okay, so our next vote is to adopt the agenda. Are there any objections to the agenda as stated that you received? Okay, there are no objections, so it's adopted. We wanted to adopt the previous minutes, but we're going to table it because it's not yet ready. So we will do that next month. Is there any public comment on the agenda before we start? In other words, any concern about the agenda or an item on the agenda? This would be for public members, people from the public.
I haven't received I don't know the agenda, so obviously I have no comment.
Okay, that's fine. And there'll be time afterwards and time during, so no worries. Okay, so tonight we're very happy to have a presentation and a question and answer from New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. The Summer Youth Employment Program is a big part of our community development and opportunities for young people. And every few years we hear from DYCD or one of the providers. So as we listen to their presentation, I'd love community members to think of really good questions to ask so that we have a deeper understanding of the program and how we can help shape it in the future. So we have Dr. Lunford from DYCD. So thank you for coming, and we appreciate your time and willingness and look forward to learning about the Summer Youth Employment.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here tonight. I'm going to start by just sharing my screen. And I do hope that everyone leaves with a better understanding of SYP and how far we've come over the years. So in this presentation, we'll be speaking about SYP last year and some of the updates that we've now implemented this year. So this is just our agenda. We will go through our service option breakdown, our program components, program changes, our new pilots this year, and again, SYP over the years. Okay, so this is our service option breakdown for our younger youth. They participate in what's known as project-based learning. So they're only participating 12.5 hours weekly, and in total, they will participate 75 hours. So this differs from our older youth who experience the more traditional work-based experience. They will work a total of 150 hours over the summer and 25 hours weekly. So for our older youth, we do have two tracks, right? Our first track is the traditional track where you're just working 25 hours weekly. And then we have track 2 where your experience kind of changes. So you have 75 hours that you can do your work-based experience at least, and then another 75 hours of professional and technical development. We partner with a program called Hats and Ladders, and they provide just tremendous help in the professional and technical development area. They help participants with financial literacy, mental wellness, work readiness, work etiquette, and most importantly, one of our newer tracks is mental health awareness. Sorry, my presentation is lagging a bit. Please bear with me. Okay, so here we have our program components. These are the 4 essential components of SYP, beginning with our work readiness orientation. So our work readiness orientation, as previously noted, it begins with Hats and Ladders. Students can now complete it before or after their provider-led orientation. So each participant is going to go through a series of orientation and just work readiness training. So next we have our PBLs, which is for our younger youth, and over the course of the summer, they will design their own projects. And again, our work-based experience is the more traditional experience of 25 weekly hours, and our PTD is our professional and technical development. We partner through Hats and Ladders as well as Skillshare. So this year we do have some more program changes. Again, you'll have the option to complete Hats and Ladders either prior to the provider-led orientation or after. And something that was really big for us was our online application. In previous years, we had 3 separate applications. We had one for our community base, a second for our special initiatives, and a third for career ready. This year, all 3 applications will be combined into one, just making it easier for our participants. With the expansion of schools and the participants having to add their PIN, we just think that this would be the best way to minimize the margin of error. And then for our providers, this year, we are also trying to be more proactive in the resources that we give them. So we've created a DYCD Central where they can come in weekly and see new either infographics or just important program updates sooner. Okay, so our credit pilot. Last year was the first year where we instituted our credit pilot. This year we've brought it back to connect school to learning. Participants, they will receive both a school credit and work-based experience, which is amazing for them because now they can add that credit onto their transcript while also working an actual job this summer. Next, this year, which will be our very first year, our LGBTQA plus initiative. We want to reflect all of New York City's youth, providing a safe space for everyone. And we want to encourage all of our LGBTQ and allies to apply. As Mayor Eric Adams said, this sends a clear message to our LGBTQ plus family that New York City hears you, sees you, and embraces you. We are very excited for this initiative. So SYP over the years, in the year of 2020, with the world being in the midst of confusion, SYP managed to rebrand as Summer Bridge, with serving just over 30,000 participants. The next year, we used our knowledge that we gained during the pandemic, and we served 75,000 participants. Last year, SYP served 100,000 participants. This year, we have no plans of looking back. We want to continue to serve 100,000 participants, and we do hope to receive the same outpour of help from our city agencies and city council. Last year, they provided over 4,000 job placements combined, and we do hope to see that same effort this year. And we look forward to the program continuing to expand, especially in the years to come. So thank you, everyone. This is the end of my presentation. I'll now stop sharing my screen and I'll move straight into Q&A.
Thank you. As traditionally, we ask our committee members to ask questions and then the members of the public. So first I'll call on any committee members.
Thank you, Dior. I appreciate the presentation and a really, really attractive slide deck. That was really good. Thank you. So do you happen to know who the CBOs are within our community here in CB2 who have an SYP contract?
So I can definitely send you a list of our Brooklyn CBOs. Off the top of my head, I know that we have Catholic Charities, their Brooklyn contract. We also, I believe, we have Children Aid Society. I don't want to tell you the wrong partners. So let me just take down your contact information and I'll send you every single one of our Brooklyn CBOs.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you could definitely with the board office. I know Taya, right, can work with you. I just want to make sure then if we could help any of those providers, you know, they may need help filling slots, right? Promoting their programming or whatever. So it would be good to know who they are.
That would be amazing. We just launched our application. So right now we haven't started the process of enrollment, but we are recruiting pretty heavily. So I know that they would definitely appreciate the help.
Terrific. And then Taya, are you maybe looking for a board intern? Somebody to work with? That's it for me. Taya's ignoring me. Thank you.
Okay, before I open this up to the other board members and everybody will have a voice, I think, I mean, Nick knows a lot about this program. I don't know as much. You talk about younger participants, older participants, recruitment. Can you give us some more specifics? Who is a younger participant and older? Like, what are the ages? How are you finding these young people? And if you can give us a sense of what their day is like, what type of placements are they in? I know just from being in the city many years, we see participants helping in daycare and summer camps and taking care of younger children. So that's what's visible on the street. You know, when I walk down the street, that's what I see. But what are some of the other programs? Like, what do these young people do? So if you can talk a little bit about that,
Wait,
that would be great.
I think, I'm sorry to do this, but I think there's something else that may be missing, and I'm just requesting a little bit of clarification. I mean, I know that this committee is a little bit educator heavy, so educators are like, yeah, SIAP, I know that. But for the people who are not, who have not been, you know, so immersed in that field, would it be possible, Dior, to give a little bit of an overview? You know, SIAP, what does it stand for? What is the purpose? Who are this, you know, what is the overall view of the program? And from there, like, you know, if you wouldn't mind like flowing to, you know, Betty's questions, which were like about like, and who are the younger people and who are the older people, who are the young ones, the young youth, who are the old youth, and all of that. And I see you nodding, so I hope it's okay. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thanks,
So
Alice.
SYP, it stands for the Summer Youth Employment Program. This will be our 60th year with this program. As for age range, the program ranges from the age 14 to 24, and there are 3 main initiatives. We have our community-based, which is open to the general public, and they deal with the lottery. So for any participant to be in community-based, they are chosen through our lottery. Then we have 2 other initiatives, the first being special initiatives. It caters to our vulnerable youth. So they're dealing with youth who are justice involved, who are homeless, runaways, any youth who are facing barriers. They are directly recruited with our community partners. Thirdly, we have our Career Ready initiative. In our Career Ready initiative is also direct recruitment, where we here at DYCD and our providers, we work directly with our principals to identify participants for the program. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but again, the age is from 14 to 24. Last year was our first year actually expanding the age from 21 to 24, and that will continue just to give more New York City youth an opportunity. As for where are the participants working, where are the partners, I know that whenever I do speak about SYP and people who remember the program from when they were younger, they have a much different experience from what it is today. You know, they saw a lot of camp counselors and, you know, daycares, but that has all changed. You know, we now have fields in business and finance, fashion, philanthropy, technology, transportation, real estate, retail, media. Like the list definitely goes on and on. And to satisfy those concerns, we do have a 10% cap on childcare and a 10% cap on day camps, because we don't want to see the continuous cycling of jobs and participants just not gaining the full experience that we want them to. So that's just a bit more about the program. I'm not sure. Hopefully I satisfied everything. If you have a follow-up question, feel free.
Can you describe a typical day of a young person?
I can describe a typical day of a young person, but please keep in mind that they are all going to have very different experiences just based on, you know, the range that they're choosing. You know, like a retail person, you wouldn't have the same experience as a technology participant, but each older youth, they are going to work for 25 hours a week. This 25 hours could be determined very differently. You could work just a few hours and break it up day by day, or you can stack your hours into a week. The group that has more of a similar experience would be our younger youth. because they all experience project-based learning. They don't experience the traditional work experience. So they're only working or participating for 12 and a half hours a week. And while they're participating, they participate in projects. And at the end of every project, they give a grand final presentation. And our community-based partners, usually at the end, when they do these presentations, they invite everyone to come in. They serve them food. They make it a very fun day. Just another update for our younger youth, being that, you know, ever since the pandemic, ever since Summer Bridge, we've kept, for the most part, younger youth remote. We did receive some feedback because we want to improve our program each year. And the feedback that we did receive was that the younger youth were tired of being in the house. So now this year, each of our CBOs, each of our community-based partners that we work with, they will have to have their participants in person at least one day a week, just to give them a better experience. And as we move out of the pandemic, as we move out of COVID, hopefully we'll see that number increase. Yes.
As I said, I know I've seen the young people who are helping in daycares and summer camps because they're on the street. But can you take us through what an experience is like for a young person who is in another field? They get to a site, they check in. Is there someone specifically assigned to them? Do they go over what they're supposed to do that day? What they're supposed to wear, how they're supposed to present themselves. All of these are part of helping a young person get into the workforce, so to speak.
Yeah, so, you know, like I mentioned, we have our participants go through a trial of PTD, professional and technical development. And in this professional and technical development, that's where they are going to learn office etiquette, what to wear to work, the exact protocol for them when they are on the job. We don't want to just send them in bare and, you know, this may be their first work experience and everything goes terrible. No, we don't want that. So let's say, because last year, right, we had the mayor, Eric Adams, he did a call of action to all of our city agencies and to our city council office, which provided us 4,000 slots just there. So if I were one of those participants selected to be at a city council member's office or at a city agency, I would report directly to my worksite supervisor or the worksite representative. Here, they will give me my task for the day, maybe even my task for the week. And then we have our community-based organizations, our partners, they send their staff to go and check in on the participants at least once a week. And here at DYCD, we also send our staff to check in on both the participants and the worksite representatives, just to make sure that everything is running seamlessly.
I have more questions, but I really want to ask my committee members to ask questions. So before I ask more questions, who else on the committee, please raise your hand or just speak out to ask any more questions. Alice, do you have a question? Alice has a question. Unmute, please.
Yeah.
Unmute.
Yeah, got it. So do students get paid, and do younger students get paid and older students, or what is it, do they get paid?
So our older youth, because they're actually working, they get paid a wage. They get $15 an hour, the standard. And then for our younger youth, because they're not participating in a traditional work experience, they are given a stipend. And yeah, so their hours are cut in half. They are, for the summer, they do 75 hours. Our older youth do 150 hours. And by the time they turn 16, they transition into our older youth, and then they begin or graduate into the actual work-based experience.
More questions from committee members, please.
Maybe just one, if I can. So do you have an example maybe of the younger youth, like a project-based experience? What might a project be that a young person produces for that summer to the 75 hours?
So I know that one of our Harlem-based community partners, they did do a few just based on the critical race theory, as well as the Bronx burning, because they wanted them to actually go out into the neighborhood around them. So they found activities to also do within New York City, within the Bronx and Harlem. And that was very nice this year. Now that we have the LGBTQA+ initiative, that will also trickle into our project-based learning. And we will definitely have projects centered wholly around the LGBTQA+ experience. And like I said, at the end, they create a grand project and present amongst one another.
Thank you.
Okay, can I be a little more specific? Because I think we're trying to hone in on what these young people actually do. This is just an example. This is not a whole thing, but I'm very involved in school-based gardening, farming, urban agriculture. I know my committee members are sick of me talking about this, but if a school that has a school garden and wants some young people to come and water and weed during the summer when the students aren't in the school, how would that work? Here's a need, here's a skill that the young people could learn. Some young people like actually working outside and working with their hands and that type of thing, and growing food that can be given to a food pantry, for example. How does that connect? How does that happen?
Well, first off, I love that. I think it kind of echoes one of our previous pilots, not for SYP, but for another initiative or program that we run, which is Work, Learn, and Grow. Last year we had Work, Learn, and Grow Environmental Core, and participants were working on roofs to do gardening and working in actual just city gardens and cleaning up the streets, just as a part of the mayor's initiative to get the streets clean again and to clean up after COVID-19. But as for that being a work site for SYP, that is totally attainable. Right now, our work site application is live. So if you did want to make that an actual work site, you would just have to apply with us, and you would apply to a community-based organization.
Who applies? Who would apply?
So,
do you have to be a CBO? Can you be a school? Who applies to be a work site?
So you would be considered our employers, and you would be applying to our community-based organizations. Our community-based organizations would then receive your application. They would, of course, check your credentials, make sure that everything is eligible and meets our New York City regulations, and then you would become a work site. From there, you would request how many participants you wanted, and your community-based partner would provide you with those participants.
Okay, you're saying that everything meets regulations. What type of training? I know when I did volunteer work, I had to get fingerprinted. I had to have like sexual abuse
Harassment
recognition training. I had to have lots of
Yes.
training before I could dig in the soil and plant crops, okay, as a volunteer. So are the young people being fingerprinted? Are they being vetted in any way? How does that work?
No, so our young people are not being fingerprinted unless they are working either with children or in a school. So that is the only time where you may need pets clearance or just additional background thorough checks. As for your average SYP participant, you will not have to undergo any sort of severe background check.
Mm-hmm.
As a participant, yes.
Okay. I'm still confused, but that's okay. So I want to open this up.
No,
to
no,
my
I want to
other
provide you
community
as much
members.
clarity. If you have follow-up questions, please ask.
Sure. Okay, Santia, I see. Hi, Santia. Unmute.
So,
Okay, good.
yes, I have two questions, Dior. The first question, when does the agency anticipate to start marketing the summer youth employment to get the young people excited about applying? And two, I am a product of summer youth employment many, many moons ago. What is the agency, or I don't think the agency, or maybe it's the CBOs, going to do to ensure that the sites do what they're supposed to do? Because I can tell you, I sat around and I did not come out with any work experiences. I mean, yes, this was in the 80s. However, I'm sure some things have changed and maybe there are a lot of things that didn't change, but the oversight, can you talk about that? Like, how are you ensuring that the young people are getting work-life experiences?
Yes, so just to start with your initial question, right? Marketing has already started. All of our CBOs, they have been sending out blast emails to any prior participants. And if they are one of our career ready contracts, they're putting advertisement in their schools, and they're also heavily leaning into social media. Here on our end, we've also been posting about it on our LinkedIn and Facebook, as well as our TikTok. We're actually on every social media. And the mayor's office also reposted our ad. We're trying very hard to get the word out there, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of it. As for monitoring sites, like I mentioned, we do have site monitors, and I just, the program, I'm not sure how it was in the 80s because I wasn't a part of SYP then. But now we make sure we have site monitors from our office come directly, and they report and flag any issues back to their program managers, us. And then we also have the CBOs send out their own site monitors. So they're the ones who are coming more often. They have to come at least once a week to the site. And then by week 3, they collect evaluations where they hear from each participant, how is it going so far? And then by the end of the program, by the end of the 6 weeks, they do another evaluation to see how was their overall experience. So we do try to make sure that we monitor and catch any red flags as soon as they happen. If there are any major red flags, they would require an incident report. An incident report would be sent here to DYCD, where we would then take a deeper and escalated look into the situation, and we would require, action from our community-based partners just to ensure that participants are being treated fairly and that their experience is going well.
Great. Can I ask how, let's say you're a young person and you apply and you're not sure what your interests are or what is the application process or the vetting process? So for example, a young person that doesn't want to be in an office, who likes to be outside and doing and working and being active, how do we make sure that that young person gets a site like that, and someone probably more like me that likes to sit at a desk and write or talk to a few people, would get that type of job?
Yeah, so if there is a participant who would like a more agricultural experience, they can definitely have it. Each one of our community-based partners, they hold job fairs. So they have the employers come in and participants walk around, speak to everyone, and find what suits them most and sign up for the jobs that interest them most. Sorry.
Great. Okay, let's see. Any other question? Nick, I see you're.
Dior, I was just curious. I think you mentioned a 10% cap on like childcare placements. Was that accurate? Can you just tell us a little more?
Yep. So we have a 10% cap on childcare as well as camps. I think in the years prior, we were becoming, pretty much known as the Summer Youth Employment Program is where you go if you want to go to a camp or if you want to work at a daycare. And, we really want to give our participants a full experience. And to do that, we did have to limit those industries just to make space for other sectors.
Fair enough. Glad to hear that. As a employer and a contractor and a youth provider who has taken summer youth in the past in camps, I'm happy to hear there's other opportunities, because I had quite a few people who probably should have been in a real estate office maybe and not at a camp. So
Yes.
good to hear.
I see. Thank you. Okay, I see Ellis has a question or a comment or something. Yeah, hi, Ellis.
Hi, this is a comment and a bit of a shout out to the Summer Youth Employment Program, because you haven't mentioned it yet, but in my experience, the Summer Youth Employment is a truly inclusive program insofar as it doesn't, you don't have to qualify necessarily. You just have to find the right place for you to work. And so that really opens it up for students with disabilities who often have trouble accessing these opportunities where money is to be made and big responsibilities. And the program is so flexible that it allows for school personnel who might be involved with older teenagers with disabilities to provide support, so that those students who may not go to college, pretty unlikely, also have that full access to these summer opportunities. And I just want to give that, I know I asked a lot of questions tonight, but I just want to give you a shout out, and it's really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank
see
you.
Diana has a question.
Yes,
So I'll go back to community board members, but yeah, Diana has a question. You've been listening. So yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Yes, one of the things you mentioned was mental health awareness program, something new that you're starting. Is that correct? Yes, and I'd like to, as a mental health professional, I've also been a teacher, but right now I still work as a mental health professional. I know how much need there is, and I'm very interested in what are the plans for this program? How are you going to engage youth in this?
Yes, so we do have topics that include mental health awareness, stress and burnout, and that's all encompassed in our PTD, our professional and technical development. So this is in the space prior to the participants actually joining their work-based experience. This is a part of their development and training. But if you're a younger youth, if you are between the ages of 14 and 15, you can take a PBL that centers around mental health awareness. And I have seen, because sometimes I'll pop into they usually use Google Classrooms if it's remote. And I did pop into a wellness one, and they were doing yoga, and the participants seemed very satisfied. So it's nice seeing that there is an importance around mental health awareness, especially with just our teenagers actually experiencing so much stress and burnout.
And that's the extent of the program. You're not doing, because kids today are experiencing tremendous anxiety, depression. We have a high rate of suicide. Is that it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to phrase it that way, but.
No, that's fine. But, let's look at it. It's a 6-week program, right? So if you are participating in an actual work-based experience, as opposed to a project-based experience, there wouldn't be enough time to have a a 3-week, mental health awareness seminar or course. The program, again, it's 6 weeks. So we have used hats and ladders and, other partners to help us with our professional technical development in terms of helping to alleviate that stress once you do get on the job. And, although it's not, it's, you say that's it, but it may seem like less than what it is, but I think it is proving to be very beneficial for the participants.
What is hats and ladders? You've referred to it, but I don't know what it is.
So Hats and Ladders, they are one of our partners. They help streamline our professional and technical development. They make different, it's a part of their name is actually like a double entendre because it's hats and ladders, but the participants continue to move up ladders. So as a part of their training, they move through a series of ladders until they reach 10,000 XP points. And they can use this either on their phones or on their computers. And it's basically a asynchronous training where they will they'll learn about financial value, savings, stress and burnout, job etiquette. There are many different ladders. And also, sorry, because what I did just fail to mention was, for our stress and burnout, our mental healthness course, it's more so related to our younger youth. But we do have, and I don't want to forget about it, our track 2, which provides participants actually 3 weeks of professional and technical development. So, Diana, if the participants did want a deeper dive, they would have those 3 weeks to actually dig into the mental health awareness.
Please unmute, Diana. Diana, I don't hear you. Please unmute.
You go. Having worked for many years in a high school with service learning, I know that this is such an opportunity for kids in the summer to learn how to help their fellow students when they go back to school, to alert people when they see signs of extreme depression that could lead to, there are just so many good ways for kids to apply what they learn in a wonderful summer program to their daily lives back in school. And that would be, to me, very transformational for them. I think that would be great. So.
I agree. Thanks you so much.
Diana. Okay, so I want to ask again, community members, community board members, committee members, any questions, wonderings, comments while Dior is here?
Just real quick, I appreciate, Diana, the question. I had missed any mention of mental wellness. I'm sorry. I must have zoned or missed it. So I do appreciate any inclusion in this. And, again, in transparency, I lead youth programs. I lead school-based mental health clinics. Literally, that's what I do. The importance of this can't be understated, but I also appreciate, Dior, that I'm just happy to see they're getting self-care and mental health awareness as connected to the work, right? It exists everywhere. And I see Taya made a comment in the chat, and I think, DOE has a lot of opportunities here to, I think, use their resources in a lot of ways. And Diana, that was a very interesting idea. I'm sure there's tons of young people who want to promote mental wellness, right? That actually is something passionate about, not only they need to learn about it, but it may be a passion of theirs. And for them to sort of, I guess that was mental health first aid, you're kind of referencing anything they can get. That would be a great specialization. But I do want to just elevate. I'm just happy in the workspace you're using any hours to mention that an employee's actual self-care and your stress and mental well-being matters. That I don't want to diminish that, because that is not the American way, in my opinion. And so kudos to that addition.
To diminish anything you said. I'm just adding to it.
Yeah.
But I do have one additional question in terms, I'm sure that the program has goals. I'm wondering if the program, and I realize it might be difficult, you have so many students, if there's a way of measuring those goals at the end of how they've achieved them.
So yes, at the end of every program, we do send out surveys to all of our participants. This year, 93% of our participating youth noted that the program helped them prepare for the future, and 91% said that they would recommend to a friend. And those are some of our highlight statistics. But yes, we do a full survey of our participants and their experience.
That's great.
Great. I might have missed it, so I apologize. How many students do you anticipate will be part of this year's program?
100,000.
Very good. Mhm. And are there, I remember years ago, there were income eligibility. Is it primarily for lower income students, or do they get a priority, or is it open to everyone? How does that work?
Yep. So in years prior, it wasn't an income eligibility per se, but they did have to state their income. In our most recent years, we made the application simpler, so participants no longer have to provide proof of income. But although it's not required on the application, we still ask just so that at the end of the program, we have the data backing which of our participants were in need versus those that weren't.
And what about undocumented young people?
Undocumented young people. So, we have a program at DYCD, an initiative that allows for participants who do not meet all of the criterias or all of the eligibility criterias to enter the program. Please keep in mind that this is still a pilot program, so it's not too much that we can really say on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any more questions from anyone, or should we wrap up on this? I'm looking at everybody's hands and faces, so I don't see
This
any
has
more
been a hot
questions.
topic. This has just been a hot topic. It's been exciting. We don't often, a lot of questions. It's good.
Oh, do you have anything else to say? I'm open. Okay, Nick is happy. The world is good. Okay, so thank you so much to you. I think if there are questions, I know that Taya will communicate with you and back and forth, and you'll get some more information to us. Specifically, I mean, because we focus on CB2 neighborhoods, we really would like to know, not necessarily about all of Brooklyn, even though we're all Brooklynites, but which are the key providers that are servicing the young people who live in our communities? That's a big thing.
If you don't mind, could you just tell me your neighborhoods at large?
Yeah, Borum Hill, Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Vinegar Hill, the Navy Yard, the Atlantic Terminal area, downtown Brooklyn. Did I leave anything out?
Are there less zip codes? 11201 and what else?
I'm in 17, but I don't know.
And maybe then the schools you're, because right, it would be different, right? If it sounds like the younger, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. The younger ones doing the project-based learning, is that affiliated with a school literally? Versus no. So this is all CBO connections, not a school connection.
Yes.
Okay.
So our CBOs are going to be the ones to facilitate the project-based learning.
Okay.
Thank you.
We look forward to following this program, and maybe, I don't know if it would be your job or someone else, but things like this, we'd love to hear at the end of the summer, like in September or October, if someone from a CBO or DYCD could come with a few young people and they could talk about what they did and their experience. I think that that would be very meaningful. So I wish you well with the program and the young people and their learning and their mental health and their participation in city life. So this is quite exciting. So can I move on with the agenda? Okay. So thank you. You can stay
Thank
and
you.
listen to us, or you can do other things. It's up to you. We appreciate your time. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So now it's time for chair report. Okay. So I wanted to report that I visited PS 67, which is on St. Edward Street, I believe, I think it's in Whitman or Ingersoll. It's right near the library. We've been out there. And I was invited to see a hydroponics program. And it was, those who know me know I'm into soil-based gardening, but any opportunity young people have to grow food is extraordinary. And it's developed in connection with the science curriculum. So it isn't just a one-off thing that kids do. So Nydia Velasquez, one of our Congress people, got, and this is important, I think, for us as a board, she got an earmark. So it's not a grant, it's an earmark as part of some funding initiative in Congress. And she was able to provide funding for quite a few schools in her districts. So her district that coincides with ours is 67, Benjamin Banneker, and maybe there are a few others, and her district goes into Bed-Stuy and Bushwick and so on. So the school identifies, a school will say, I want to do this program. They have a room, and then when the money is assured, through an organization called Sunworks, they get all the equipment, the plant starts, the chemicals, the wiring and the tubing and all the stuff, and technical assistance so that the teachers learn how to work with the students, and they get the curriculum, and it's aligned to a science curriculum. So gardening can be aligned to many different kinds of learning standards, but it's very much based on science. So this was a wonderful opportunity. And once we get to visit schools again, we used to go about and visit. I hope that we can visit either that program or another program to see what it's like in real time, in reality, and seeing the tubes and the light and the plants. It was delightful.
Betty, who was running the content piece? I'm sorry, I think you said it.
New York Sunworks.
New York
They've become a
Sunworks.
very big provider of this. They have over 200 schools in the DOE, which when we consider we have what, over 1,000 schools. I mean, 200 schools, that's significant.
It is, yeah. New York Sunworks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to continue on that because, you know, that's my thing, but okay, we can do other things. So the health fair of CB2, they're working on getting the various permits from the Parks Department and so on for June 10th, but I'm going to, ask everybody to help us in some way. Our role, in addition to anything in particular we want, like I'm ordering books on health that we can give away to kids and things like that. But in addition to that, I think the important thing will be visiting some of the local schools, which would be 67, 287, 307, Susan McKinney. They're the ones that are closest to the Commodore Barry Park, and really make an effort to get those young people and their families to attend the health fair. So there will be more on that. I got a request in writing from several attendance teachers in District 13 schools asking for help about attendance incentives. Now, there's something called chronic absenteeism, where students are absent more than a certain number of days a year. It's considered that they've lost really a year of school. It's always been a challenge. It's gotten to be much worse. I will send you articles about it, so those who aren't as familiar with it can. But one of the many strategies is to incentivize young people. So if they come to school X number of times, they might get a ticket to a movie, a game, something that's age appropriate, something that they want that will incentivize them. Incentives are only a small part of a whole attendance program. If you have kindergarten, first, second grade students, it's usually the parent who needs to get the child to school, whereas in middle school, a parent can send a child out, bye, have a nice day, you have your books, you have everything good, and the child doesn't go to school. So that's a different type of attendance challenge. So I will send you some information, but I think this could be an area where we connect maybe with some of our other committees or businesses, because the attendance teachers are asking for help in this. I personally think before we do that, we need to know more about what the district is doing around attendance initiatives. But I want to hear your ideas about this before I pursue it. So do you think this is something that's important for us to look at?
I love it. It's interesting. Again, professionally, part of the work I do is community schools. And so that's a lot of the work as a CBO we're asked to do, is support attendance teams at schools, especially in a high school. The primary goal of any school is to graduate a student. And so with the limited funding in those spaces, they're going to really direct it towards attendance, and incentive programs is huge, right? I also know DOE has reduced the amount of money you can spend on incentives for young people. I believe it might be 100 annually, which, isn't really that much depending. So
is it 100 for a school, for a child?
No,
what is
a child, an individual child, and there may be some other cutoffs of amounts total. I'm not sure, but I think it's 100 maximum for annually per young person that they could get. So I just think it's really interesting, potentially outside the box, and what I'm always excited to do is bring together whoever's in the community to help a need. And so initially I thought of cultural partners, but then you mentioned like the economic committee, right? So then we actually have these businesses maybe who give back. How could you provide incentives maybe to young people, with schools? So yeah, cool, thanks.
Yeah, so I was thinking, and please people react to me because this isn't my show. I was thinking maybe I could send a few basic articles and maybe we could get someone to talk about it before, but I was thinking of maybe reaching out an executive committee, because those are the leaders of all the different committees of our CB2, to see what ideas they would have about connections. And I'm also a little hesitant about it because I think the most important thing for young people is to have relationships with people in school. So the person who wrote to me, I said, is it possible as part of the incentives that the child could say, I want to go to dinner with this teacher or this dean or this security agent, or I want to have lunch with the sports coach, or, whatever. And that money could be provided for something like that. So I'm going to explore it a little bit, but I wanted to know if this should be one of our things. I think Alice has a comment.
I have a question.
Yes, I do have a
Alice has-
comment. I have a, you said that providing incentives is a part of a larger approach
Yes.
to student attendance.
Mhm.
And I have a bit of a concern, right? Because when we incentivize, it becomes something individual for the child, right? But there may be, or there are, I can say that there definitely are, there are factors in our city that impact on student attendance.
Of course. Mhm.
Huge factors. And so then to incentivize somebody who lives in really, in really unacceptable conditions is like setting up that kid for failure. And I'm still not saying don't incentivize, but if we're going to have people speak to us, I would like to hear about what are the more global factors that impact on attendance, because that's where our committee's power, not our committees, but the community board's power kind of might be able to provide some impact. Because it's a lot about culture, it's a lot about resources, it's a lot about access. So if we're going to have people to come and talk to us about attendance, I hope that they will be able to address some of these factors that we as a community board need to be very aware of in our planning going forward.
Well, I totally agree. It's just one part. And as I said, incentives depend a lot on the age of the child as well as everything else. Because for little kids, it isn't giving a ticket to a game that's going to help the kid get to school. But I will send you some articles you can look at or not. And if we seem to think this is something to explore, I can ask the district who's the person in the district who could speak to us. And some of us individually on the committee, I know, have worked with attendance teams and could give some anecdotal experience as well. Diana has a question. Yeah.
A question. I certainly agree with what Ella says. I know that especially with young children, there are so many factors involved with poor attendance that require perhaps a social worker to explore and see what's going on in the family. But I would just, maybe I missed it, but who was the person who sent you the letter? Was that a school person?
Yeah, it was a principal and several attendance teachers of the DOE of the district.
And just one other thing, I am really, in a way, very surprised. There are only 10 of us here, and only 2, I believe, myself and one other person who were new, part of the public. Is there a way to get more outreach so that you have more public attending these meetings? It seems to me that that's a really important source of participation, information. I really expected there to be at least 50 people here, if my wrong,
I agree with you. I mean, I've been on the board over many years. I can say that when we have a controversial topic, we've been known to get over 50 people, screaming people, and so on. But yeah, we all want more participation, and through various means, we all try. But in reality, at least in my experience, it's when there's an issue that people really care about, they will come to meetings.
Well,
that's my opinion. I mean,
there are ways to outreach people, just putting up signs around the neighborhood, putting up signs in the libraries that with a meeting will be held, it seems to me that more people would attend.
Right. No, I agree. In the past, we met in different schools and different libraries. When we met in person, and then there were always more people from that, like local community.
I think Zoom gives you an opportunity for even, more people to come. Some people.
Yeah, totally. We don't disagree. But we have one person in the office who's helping us with loads of things, and she can't go around putting signs, but we use email, we use word of mouth. I'm sure we coordinate meetings, for example, so that we might sponsor something along with a city council person and along with a community based, so that every entity has their lists and attracts, the people that connect to them. So we totally agree. And if you have more ideas about how to get people out, I think it's also based on the agenda, what people are talking about. On the agenda, some agendas are much more exciting or controversial than others, but please keep coming to meetings and tell people in your organizations about it. I appreciate that. Taya, do you have anything to add about how to get more people to some of our meetings?
You're muted, Taya.
Oh, she's sending a chat, several of.
I can never remember when I'm muted or not. I was actually just typing a response. Ms. Falk, welcome to the community board. Chair Flybush is correct that it's not really an issue of outreach. It's more so about the agendas. Public interest is driven by agendas and the opportunity to vote or to influence a vote by the board, much more so than agendas that are driven by discussion only.
Well, that's your opinion. I think that youth are a very vital question today, and people are interested. If they knew about this meeting, they would attend. I'm very interested. Our future is based on our youth. Pretty vital to me.
As the proud daughter of public school teachers, I don't disagree with you, Ms. Falk. I'm simply reflecting the facts that drive, regular attendance at some of our committees of over 200 people every month. That's all.
Well,
if I may, I think we're all not saying different things. I think everything is true, and we have conversations and work to do, I think, on what we talk about here, being, maybe the relevance of our agenda certainly is going to bring people and keep people. And so I hope that impacts attendance as well, Ms. Falk, because it shouldn't only be right. If we got library on the agenda, you would see, a whole bunch of people here guaranteed, but that's just because it's a hot topic. But certainly there's plenty of people who I think are excited about youth and education and cultural affairs. So Betty, if I can connect that back to your point, I would, and I'm willing to help here. I feel very strongly that we need some local school representation who struggle with attendance and graduation. I am super less interested, but they can come in some DOE attendance person. They're not about, they have a very specific job, and it's not about the whole child. And so I think that that's I heard here from Ellis, and what we all know, and that it's this whole child arrives at the school, and incentive is one piece, but there's all these other factors, and our school's funded for them. Do you have the personnel? Is CB2 chock full of all of these resources to help young people and families that they don't even know about? And we know the answer is yes. So I guess I really am asking, who can we get? What schools who we know are not doing well? I'm not interested in the high performing schools either. And how can we help you? What are the issues keeping young people from coming or impacting their success? And how do we help you?
Agreed.
And I'll call.
Raise
You
it
tell
with
me
the
who to call. I'll
superintendent.
call. Okay, I'm serious. You give me the phone number, the name, and I'll also call. Okay, because this is local. This has got to be local people. They know what the issues are, and they're the ones who want to get involved.
Yeah, I've been working more closely with the CEC people because they're more closely connected to the schools than we are. So that's gradual, and I think some of them have been coming to some of our meetings as well. So it's a slow process, but I'm hopeful. But I agree, we should get some of the local schools who have these issues to come and talk about how we can work together in a supportive way, not a critical way. I wanted to thank you. I wanted to mention about the Albee Square School. We've talked about this for a while. I've read that there will be a high school there for 2 years, and then it will revert to an elementary school, we hope. And my opinion, and this is my opinion as Betty, not as a chair, but that we need to figure out a way to work with the potential constituents, parents of younger children who live in the community who might want to go to that school, because unless there's a constituency who want to go there, you know, what can we do? So I think that should be something, and some people have contacted me around that and said, why hasn't there been more information? I mean, I'm not the DOE, we're not the DOE. I don't know why there's not been more information, but I've invited some of these folks to our committee, and if they show up, I think we can certainly work with them to help them with their voice. A few
Ms.
people,
Feibusch,
yes.
if I could just comment, I think you just made a really strong point. I don't want this committee to feel discouraged in any way, but Ms. Feibusch just made a very important point. Community boards do not have an official city charter mandated relationship with the DOE. And it's because our geographies are different. That's it. So the community board's sphere of influence is very specifically defined, and the DOE operates citywide. So I think that's important. I don't think this committee is failing to bring DOE folks to the table. I think it's just they're different lanes. That's all.
I don't know that I disagree, and I'm not sure. I'm not trying, but I do think we have power. It's a community board. Whether we have zero influence or not, the DOE is going to come if they're invited. I as an administrator, I could not even imagine having said no, that the community board called my school and said, we need you there. And me being, nah, too busy. I just can't even comprehend
I
that.
think your idea was different and very good. Your idea, if I'm hearing you correctly, was that you would like to invite specific schools in our community district that we know are having attendance problems. That is different. That is reaching out to specific schools rather than agencies of the DOE.
Gotcha. Central office, just
That's
coming
right.
to some random community board. Yep. Okay.
That's right.
Fair enough.
But
Thank you.
that was a great idea. And we recorded you saying that you would call people.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yes, we'll put our heads together on this. Okay, so we talked about the Albee Square School. I still think that there will be people who do want to come and speak to us about it, and then we'll see how we can support them to make sure that in 2 years, when this high school moves out, that there are plans for a community elementary school and maybe a early childhood school. Like there are schools that just have 3K, 3-year-old, 4 UPK, kindergarten, and even first grade. There are entities like that in the city. So if that's the need based on the geographics, then that's what we should be voicing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a K-5 school if that's not needed. Okay, and youth, we, with Ellis doing a lot of work and a few others, we got some more information about who to contact in each school to let them know we're interested in young people. So we're going to see how we can go forward with messaging and hopefully getting some young people. And again, that takes work, and the district office is working very, very hard with one person. So we just have to see what will happen with that. Okay, so that's the end of my chair's report. So the next item is other business. Does anyone from the committee have any other business that they would like to bring up? This is for the committee, and then we go into community forum. So this is, I see Ellis's hand. Yeah. Hi, Ellis.
So we're the education committee, and libraries do in our community. That's all I can speak on right now. The libraries in our community board do an amazing job, and they really do provide education or educational services from birth till the end. I mean, they have programs for babies, for toddlers, and they have programs for seniors. And I know that many of us on the committee are still going to work, but I have stopped doing that. So I get to go, I get to go to places like the library in the daytime. And our libraries are packed with all kinds of people and all kinds of age groups, all kinds of stuff. My concern is that I keep reading that there will be a cut in funding to the libraries. And the power that we have been talking about here in this committee, I think that we need to wield that a little bit. And I don't know exactly how. I don't know how we can kind of, bring some attention to this and to also take a stance, especially as members of the education committee. Our librarians do an amazing job at engaging the entire community. So, and I hope that we can talk about that at a future date.
Thank you. So what do you, I mean, just politically and in terms of next steps, would this be a letter supporting the library then to go to the city council? I mean, what would we be voting on, bringing to the full board to vote on and wielding our voice, so to speak?
I don't know exactly. So first of all, it's my first year on the community board, so I don't know exactly. I know that there's power. I just don't know how it exactly, what are the details of that? How does that work? But I know right now, we're not talking about libraries, or we haven't talked about libraries. And I think that the first thing we need to do is to attend to this educational system in our community board. And yeah, I think I don't have an answer, but I am hoping that we can get together in this committee and kind of figure out a direction where we can take a stance and where we can be heard.
I can help with that a little bit, Ellis. Let me just pull up. Oh, I spoke too soon. Keep going, Betty. I'm pulling up a visual that will help.
Sure. I mean, I can reach out to the government affairs person at the Brooklyn Public Library because I know they're working on their campaign. So I could just ask him what his thoughts are in like adding the community board voice or separately or together. I mean, I don't think at this point we need a presentation about how many books people take out or how many librarians. I think we all know the value of the library. And we, as long as I've been involved, we have at least 1 or 2 items about the library every year in our statement of needs, whether it's increasing the hours or the budget specifically, or one year we were very concerned about getting more social work for homeless people who were spending all day in the library, and needed some resources and referrals and so on. So I know we're cognizant of that. Yeah. Was
I
that?
found it. I found it.
Yay, Taya.
I'm sorry. This is the only version of this that I have. I have the image stored somewhere, but I can't find it. So one second. So Alice, this is pretty timely. I think some of you have seen this in the newsletter or in various places, right? So let's just review this really quickly. So fiscal year starts July 1st every year, right? That's when we start now with the new system that we've been doing the last couple of years. That's when we start doing our public surveying. And then, there's a whole bunch of surveying until October. The community board submits the top district needs and budget requests every Halloween. November, the mayor responds and submits it. And this is all 59 community boards, right? In November, the mayor submits the November financial plan. That's the draft. In January, the mayor presents the preliminary budget and 5-year financial plan. That is what this preliminary budget is, what is the most recent publication, which is what all of the news articles are responding to, Ellis. So that quote that I put in chat about 4 million in budget in cut, that is in response to this part of the cycle, which is where we are right now. The mayor has presented the preliminary budget. Next step, we just went through this last month, all 59 community boards submit letter of statement on the mayor's preliminary budget. Now, typically those comments are laser focused on responding to the agency responses to the district's needs. But there is opportunity in there to have broader language, particularly about things like the library system, right? So all of that gets chewed on for 2 months. And then in April, the mayor submits the executive budget. And then the city council and the mayor debate that through public hearings, and then the executive budget, and then the city council votes on the adopted. So some of you are aware that in the summertime, there's always news. There's another cycle of news about the budget, right? So that's how we get to that. So nothing has happened between January and June is when the advocacy should absolutely be happening. So June to January is authoring new ideas. January to June is advocating for what the mayor has presented in response to our ideas.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Taya. Then can I speak on behalf of, I think what I've heard from our other members and guests, that for the March meeting, or I think for the March meeting, we invite the government affairs people from the Brooklyn Public Library to engage in conversation with us about their needs. And I know in the past I've worked with a Mike Fieni or Fiore and Nelder Rosario. Something like that.
Naila has moved on, but we have 2 new contacts, and that's
okay.
Exactly the right process, Ms. Feibush. I think
So
definitely let's invite the Brooklyn Public Library folks, because I think what I'm hearing is that you want to ask them, what do you need specific to our district, right? We have 5 libraries. 3 of them are incredibly well resourced. 2 of them are on their way to being reasonably resourced. So what do we need specific to the district? What does the library in general have to say about the proposed $4 million citywide cuts, right? So your opportunity to advocate for the district-specific funding has already passed. We submitted that in October. However, it is exactly the right time for this committee to produce an action report for which the office has a template that you can follow. You could, for example, create an action report to submit to the full board that is a response to this proposed $4 million cut in city funds.
right. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, but should we wait until if we can get them hopefully for the March meeting, so that would mean we would submit the action report for April. Is that a fair time frame?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. Thank you, Taya. So if you can find these people for us, that would be awesome. Yeah. I feel good about that.
Is there time to invite a school rep for the same conversation? What's the
You mean to have 2 conversations? Yeah, I think,
issue
in the
and
past,
what do you
we've
need?
had several presentations, so I think we should invite some school reps to talk about their attendance struggles and what they would find to be helpful. I would love 2 presentations and then we move forth. If we can get that going. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. So next is community forum. So we have Diana and we have a few other people here. Ayaka. Somebody else is here that is from the community. So any comments or thoughts or anything to add?
Well, I must say, I'm sort of impressed with what's going on. There's certainly a lot to do. And there's definitely a need for more people to do it. And
Thank you, Diana. And if you bring people in, that's great. And, I think once Taya is able to confirm that certain speakers will be coming or that certain topics will be, then we have more time to get the word out. Sometimes speakers agree to come and then they cancel the last minute, and it's hard to get the word out then if somebody's replacing them like a day or 2 before the presentation. So there are these little technical things, but we hear you. Taya says librarians are reliable. And how do you say your name? Ayaka? Yeah.
Hi, Ms. Ayaka.
Ayaka? Yeah, Yaka said, thank you for having me. Okay, do you have anything? Thank you for writing in the chat. Do you have anything to add to this conversation or something you'd like to see us work on or your response to anything?
No, not for today. Yeah, thank you so much for asking.
Okay, great. Okay, so is there any other business to come before this committee? Taya's telling us about the newsletter. Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn? Cynthia and Leroy, thank you. And yeah, thank you and have a good month. People can write to me, anytime. I read my emails. So any more ideas on this, and I'll get back to some of you and also work with Taya on some of these ideas. And I'm going to send you something about attendance, just so that you can, those of you who aren't familiar with the issue, all the different aspects that go into the very challenging problem of student attendance. So I will get that out to you. So thank you. It's 7:30. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Betty.
night.
Thank you all for sharing your evening with me. It's been a good conversation tonight. Thank you.
Yes.